What if one move could change everything for Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever? Some say it's a game changer, others say it's a disaster waiting to happen. Aerial Powers is on the radar, but is she the missing piece or a risky mistake? Let's break it down. You see, Christy Wallace shared that she wouldn't be coming back to the Indiana Fever for the 2025 season. In her own words, she said, "This hasn't been an easy decision for me, but one that I make knowing it was in my best interest at this time." Some fans saw this coming, others were totally surprised by it. But either way, Wallace's leaving creates a hole in the team that needs to be filled. Now, Wallace wasn't the biggest star on the team. She didn't grab all the headlines or score the most points, but she brought things to the court that don't always show up in the numbers. She played tough defense, she hustled for loose balls, she made smart plays when the team needed them. These things matter in winning games, especially in the WNBA, where every possession counts. Wallace also knew her role on the team. She didn't need to be the center of attention. She did what was needed to help the team win. That kind of player is harder to replace than you might think. With Wallace gone, the Fever aren't just losing a player, they're losing someone who brought grit and toughness to the team. And now, they need to figure out how to fill that gap. The moment the news broke about Wallace leaving, fans started calling for Aerial Powers. Social media lit up with hashtag #PowersToFever, and it's easy to see why so many people are excited about this idea. Powers is a proven scorer in the WNBA. During her time with the Washington Mystics and Minnesota Lynx, she showed she can put on points on the board. When she's in the zone, she can score from anywhere on the court. She's also coming off a strong showing overseas where she kept her skills sharp and showed she's still got game. At 30 years old, Powers brings valuable experience but still has plenty left in the tank. Here's where it gets really interesting for Fever fans. Imagine Powers playing alongside Caitlin Clark. When teams double team Clark, which happens a lot mind you, they need someone who can make those teams pay. Powers could be that player. Clark is one of the best passers in the game. Having someone like Powers who can knock down shots when Clark finds them open, that could be a perfect match. Powers also brings championship experience. She was part of the Washington Mystics team that won it all in 2019. She knows what it takes to reach the top, something many current Fever players haven't experienced yet. For a young team trying to take the next step, adding a veteran with championship DNA makes a lot of sense. That's why so many fans are pushing for this move to happen. But hold on now, before we get too excited, we need to think about how Powers would actually fit with this Fever team. This isn't just about adding talent, it's about building a system that works. The Fever are building their team around two young stars, Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. Clark is a special playmaker who thrives when the ball is moving and players are cutting and finding open spaces. Boston is a force inside who needs room to work in the paint. Powers has always been at her best when she has the ball in her hands. Throughout her career, she's been most effective creating shots for herself. She likes to dribble, find her spot, and shoot. But that's not really how the Fever play. With Clark running the show, the Fever want to play fast, make quick decisions, and keep the ball moving. Everyone needs to play their part in the system. The big question is, can Powers adjust her game? Would she be okay playing more off the ball, catching and shooting rather than creating her own shots? Some players can make this change, but others struggle when asked to play differently. The Fever don't need another player who needs the ball in their hands. They need players who can thrive without it, who can space the floor, cut the basket, and make quick decisions when Clark finds them open. If Powers can adapt her game to fit the style, she could be a great addition. But if not, it might create problems that hurt the team's growth no matter how talented she is. Now let's talk something that doesn't get enough attention: defense. The saying defense wins championships exists for a reason, and right now, defense is a big weakness for the Indiana Fever. Yes, Aaliyah Boston is excellent in the paint. She blocks shots and grabs rebounds, but one player can't defend an entire team. The Fever struggle against teams with size and strength, especially when they face opponents with multiple big players. Christy Wallace might not have been a scoring machine, but she brought defensive energy every night. She would guard the other team's best players and make them work for every point. Powers, on the other hand, isn't known for her defense. She's not bad, but she's never been selected to an all-defensive team or recognized as a lockdown defender. Her game is built around her scoring ability, not stopping others from scoring. If you look at teams that win WNBA championships like the Las Vegas Aces or New York Liberty, they all have strong defenders at multiple positions. They can guard anyone, anywhere on the court. The Fever already have plenty of players who can score. What they really need right now is someone who can help stop the other team from scoring. Someone with size who can guard multiple positions. Someone who can help Boston protect the rim. Instead of adding another scorer like Powers, should the Fever be looking for a defensive specialist? Someone who can guard the league's best players and give Boston some help inside? That's the question the Fever's front office needs to answer. Let's talk about something really important in sports that fans sometimes forget. Money matters. In the WNBA, teams have a small salary cap. Every dollar they spend on one player means less money for others. With Christy Wallace stepping away, the Fever now have about $80,000 in cap space. That might sound a lot, but in professional sports, it doesn't go as far as you might think. Powers has been on big contracts before. With the Minnesota Lynx, she was making around $155,000 per year. Would she take a pay cut to join the Fever? She might have to if she wants to play in Indiana. But the bigger question is spending that money on Powers the best move for the Fever? They could use that money in different ways. They could sign a defensive specialist. They could bring in a true backup center to help Boston. They could even save some of it for a mid-season move if they see a specific need once games begin. The WNBA has a hard salary cap, meaning teams can only spend a certain amount on players. Smart teams think carefully about how they use every dollar. They don't just look at who's available now, they think about what might be available later. If the Fever sign Powers now, they'll have less flexibility later. What if a perfect player becomes available during the perfect season? What if they realize they need something different after seeing the team play together? Money decisions in sports aren't just about today, they're about planning for tomorrow too. The Fever need to decide if Powers is worth committing their resources to right now. The Indiana Fever are at a turning point in their history. They have two incredible young stars in Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. The choices they make now will shape their future for years to come. So what's the best move right now? Let's think about this from all angles. If they sign Powers, they get an experienced scorer who can create her own shot. She brings championship-level experience and could take some pressure off of Clark. When teams focus too much on stopping Clark, Powers could make them pay. But if they look elsewhere, they could address other needs. They could find a defensive specialist who helps them against the league's best teams. They could add size to help them against bigger opponents. They could even save their cap space for a perfect opportunity later. The best WNBA teams aren't just collections of stars. They're carefully built rosters where everyone fits together perfectly. Look at the Las Vegas Aces. They have A'ja Wilson as their centerpiece, but they surrounded her with the right pieces. Chelsea Gray running the offense, Kelsey Plum spacing the floor, and tough defenders who can guard anyone. That's what the Fever need to build. Not just talent, but the right talent that fits together. Clark needs shooters who can hit when she passes to them. Boston needs defensive help so she's not fighting alone inside. The whole team needs players who can understand their roles and play them perfectly. Is Powers that kind of player? Can she adjust her game to be what the Fever need, and not just what she's always been? That's what the Fever's front office needs to decide. The choice they make won't just affect the season, it will shape how this team develops for years to come. With young stars like Clark and Boston, they have a chance to build something special. Every move matters. And now, I'm turning over to you guys. Should the Indiana Fever sign Aerial Powers, or should they look elsewhere for what they need? If you think Powers is the perfect fit, tell us why in the comments below. If you think they need something different, what kind of player should they target instead? This is one of the biggest decisions the Fever will make this year, and I want to hear what you think about it. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more WNBA coverage. We'll be following this story closely, so turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates. The WNBA season is heating up, and the moves teams make now will decide who's holding the trophy by the end of it. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you guys in the next video.